Hey everybody, and welcome to Bible class. Can you open your Bibles with me to Genesis chapter 6? We're talking this evening from the book of beginnings, the first book of our Bibles, about the beginning of a fresh start with humanity. And in Genesis chapter 6, we're introduced to a very special character in this story. We read, "But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord." Now that's good news after the really bad news in Genesis 6, verses 5, 6, and 7. Can you read it with me? "The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart. So the Lord said, I will blot out man whom I have created from the face of the land, man and animals and creeping things and birds of the heavens, for I am sorry that I have made them." But Noah was different. Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Such a great contrast to what we just read, especially when we add verse 9, Genesis 6, verse 9. Notice how he's described. He was a righteous man, blameless in his generation. Noah walked with God. But Noah lived in a really, really dark time. Look down at verse 11. "The earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. And God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. And God said to Noah, I've determined to make an end of all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy them with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood." And from that point, God begins to give Noah building instructions. Why? Because as he makes clear in verse 17, "Behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh in which is the breath of life under heaven. Everything that is on the earth shall die. But I will establish my covenant with you, Noah, and you shall come into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you." And to his very great credit, even though Noah had never built anything like that, never seen anything like what God is talking about, verse 22 tells us Noah did this. He did all that God commanded him. Genesis 7 is a tough chapter to read. It's tough even to imagine because of the terrible destruction that came on the earth. Listen to Genesis 7, verse 22. "Everything on the dry land in whose nostrils was the breath of life, when this terrible flood came, everything died." He blotted out every living thing that was on the face of the ground. Man and animals and creeping things and birds of the heavens. They were blotted out from the earth. Only Noah was left, and those who were with him in the ark. And the waters prevailed on the earth 150 days. In Genesis chapter 8, Noah and his family and every living thing that had been saved in that ark, they came out. Noah built an altar, he offered a sacrifice, and he received a wonderful promise from God. It's in Genesis 8, verse 21. I will never again curse the ground because of man, for the intention of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I ever strike again down every living creature as I have done. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night, shall not cease. God enters into a covenant with Noah and his offspring and every living thing. He even puts a sign of that covenant in the sky. We call it, of course, the rainbow. As God establishes that covenant with all of these living things that have survived the flood, from this point on, we can expect nothing but good news, right? It's a completely fresh start with humanity. Nothing but blue skies and sunshine ahead, right? No, there was a problem. It is the problem that we've already been noticing throughout this great book of beginnings. It's the problem of sin. Sin continued to haunt human beings. Sin even affected this man who built that incredible ark. In Genesis chapter 8, we read about Noah becoming drunk and his son Ham acting in some inappropriate way and receiving a curse from his father. In Genesis chapter 11, we read about that great plain of Shinar where many people settled, and they started building a city and a tower. They said, we're going to make it reach all the way to the heavens, and we're going to make a name for ourselves. Those plans were frustrated by the Lord and eventually abandoned. From Genesis 3 all the way to Genesis 11, mankind's greatest problem is sin. Now, I've just given you a basic overview, and so I'm going to kick it back over to your in-person class teacher. But as I do, could I draw your attention here to Genesis 11, where from this point, a particular branch of the family tree begins to be followed. Noah, he's the builder of that ark. Noah has 3 sons, and beginning in Genesis 11, we start really being drawn to the family line of Shem. Shem, in Genesis chapter 11, we read about his son and his grandson and his great-grandson and his great-grandson, all the way down to a man named Terah, who had a son named Abram. And we'll read all about him, Lord willing, for next Wednesday evening, Genesis 12 and beyond, where God begins solving our greatest problem, the problem of sin, through this family line. There it is, the beginning of a fresh start with humanity that we read all about in Genesis 6 through Genesis 11. We got a lot to talk about. I appreciate you being in class tonight. I hope you have a great rest of your class period and a great rest of this week.